Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a really interesting stack of notes today.
Yeah, we do.
We're looking at the world of toy design, but, well, not in the way you usually think about it.
Right. Because usually when we talk about toys or collectibles, the whole conversation is so romantic.
Oh, totally.
We think about the auteur designer,
Yeah.
you know, the smell of vinyl in the factory, the sculpting clay under the fingernails. It's all very tactile, very gritty.
Exactly. It's the heat of the injection mold, the smell of paint thinner. But the source material we're digging into today, it's from an episode 02 of a design series. It kind of flips that on its head.
It does.
It argues that the biggest shift happening right now isn't actually in the factory, it's on the screen. It's this tension between the old school manual craft and the sterile infinite world of digital tools.
It's, you know, it's that classic man versus machine debate, but sort of tailored specifically for the vinyl toy collector or maybe the aspiring designer.
Yeah. But here's the hook, and this is why I thought this source was so cool. It doesn't frame it as a war. It's not AI is coming to steal your job.
No.
The concept they introduce is the digital apprentice.
Which is such a crucial distinction. If you're a designer listening to this or, you know, a collector just trying to figure out how your favorite blind box series gets made, the narrative is usually fear. But this deep dive suggests that AI is coming into the industry not to be the artist,
but to be the best assistant you've ever had.
Exactly.
And I love that term apprentice because if you think about a traditional workshop, what does an apprentice do? They mix the paints, they sweep the floor.
They prep the canvas.
Right. They do all the grunt work so the master can focus on the actual masterpiece.
And in, 2024, a lot of that grunt work is mental.
Yeah.
It's the iteration.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to unpack that. We're going to look at how this digital apprentice helps with the three hardest parts of making a toy. The blank page, the physical prototype, and all the boring math.
And then we have to answer the big question the source poses. Can a computer actually help a human find more?
Soul. It sounds like a total contradiction, doesn't it? A machine helping to find soul.
It really does. But when you look at the workflow they describe, it actually starts to make a weird kind of sense. So let's start where every project starts, the beginning. The source calls it the digital sketchbook.
Right. The thing that's supposed to kill blank page syndrome.
I think everybody listening can relate to this. I don't care if you're designing a high-end vinyl figure or just trying to write an email. You sit down, the screen's white, the cursor is just blinking at you.
Nothing.
Nothing. You have no idea where to start.
It's total paralysis. And in design, the problem isn't usually a lack of ideas. It's that there are too many possibilities. You could do anything. A dragon, a robot, a cyberpunk street kid, a food-based character. Just picking a direction it's a huge cognitive load.
It's the paradox of choice.
Totally. When you can do anything, you end up doing nothing. So how does the digital apprentice fix that? Because I assume we aren't just typing computer, design me a cool toy, and then hitting print.
No. And that's the big misconception about AI. The source material really emphasizes that this is a conversation. It's a back and forth. The example they give is fantastic.
Right.
Imagine you have a vague vibe in your head. You want, let's say, a robot.
Right.
But you want it to feel like it's wearing a 1990s puffer jacket, and you want the aesthetic of 1970s anime.
Okay, I can actually visualize that. That puffy sort of Michelin Man look, but with those sharp, angular Gundam-style lines. It's a real clash of textures.
Right. Soft jacket, hard metal. Now, if you're a human artist sketching that from scratch, how long does that take? To get even a decent concept down, you're figuring out perspective, the folds of the jacket, the robot joints. Maybe an hour for 2 or 3 variations.
At least. And you might get halfway through and just realize, you know what, the puffer jacket looks stupid on a robot. Or the proportions are all wrong.
Precisely. And you've just wasted an afternoon. But the digital sketchbook approach is different. You feed those parameters into the AI, robot, 90s puffer jacket, 70s anime, and in seconds it spits out 50 variations.
50? That's a staggering amount of volume.
It is. Now, and this is the key insight from the source, most of them will be absolute garbage.
Right. We have to be honest about the tech.
The AI might put the head on backwards, the hands might look like spaghetti, the perspective will be broken, it's a mess.
Oh, well.
But you aren't looking for a finished product, you're looking for a spark.
Okay, drill down on that. What does finding a spark actually look like in this workflow?
It's curatorial. You're just scanning these 50 messy images, and suddenly you see image number 42. The robot's terrible, but the way the collar of the jacket intersects with the metallic neck joint, That looks cool. You didn't think of that. The AI just hallucinated it, and it worked.
Huh. So you're not even using the image itself. You're extracting a single design element.
Exactly. You take that one specific thing, that color connection, and that becomes the seed for your actual drawing. You take the spark, and then you apply your human craft. You evolve it. The AI broke the ice. It killed the blank page so you could get to work.
I really like how that shifts the definition of what a designer is. You
Yeah.
stop being just a generator of raw ideas from scratch.
And you become more of a director?
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
The AI is like the storyboard artist just throwing stuff at the wall, and you're the director going, no, no, no. Yes, keep that one. Combine it with this one.
So for you as a collector, why does this matter? Is it just that we get more toys faster?
That's what I was going to ask.
I think it means we get weirder toys.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a good way. If a designer can test drive a wild concept like Victorian fashion meets cyberpunk in 10 seconds, they're just more likely to try it.
As opposed to spending a week drawing it, realizing it's a commercial risk, and then just deciding to make another generic Batman figure because they know that'll sell.
Exactly. It lowers the cost of experimentation to basically zero, at least at the concept stage. It encourages mashups. It encourages weirdness.
Which is a perfect lead-in to the next phase.
Yeah.
So you've got your sketch, you know you want the puffer jacket robot, now you have to figure out what it actually looks like in the real world.
Yeah.
And this brings us to what the source calls the virtual paint lab.
This is where things get into the economics of toy making, which is something I think collectors often don't see. We see the price on the shelf, but we don't see the thousands of dollars burned in prototyping.
Oh, physical prototyping is incredibly expensive and so slow. And the notes specifically mention Galaxy editions.
I see those all the time in blind boxes. They're the figures painted to look like deep space, with the sparkles, nebulas, deep purples, all that. They look amazing.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
They are also an absolute nightmare to prototype by hand. Think about the process. To get a Galaxy effect, a painter has to layer all these airbrush paints. They have to wait for each layer to dry. They have to mask off tiny little areas.
And what if they peel the tape too fast and it rips the paint?
Start over. What if they mix the purple just a little too dark? Start over. If the clear coat reacts badly with the base coat and it fogs up,
Start over. You're talking about hours and hours of labor for just one sample.
hours and chemicals and fumes and materials. If you have to do that 10 times to get the color just right, you've burned through a lot of budget. And if you're an independent designer, that's coming out of your own pocket.
So the virtual paint lab is basically doing all of this in 3D software.
Yes, but with a level of fidelity that actually mimics real-world physics. You can simulate how light is going to hit a metallic flake paint on a curved surface. You can see what a matte black looks like right next to a gloss neon green.
And the phrase the source uses, which is so Silicon Valley but it applies perfectly, is failing faster.
It's the dream. In this virtual lab, you can try the Galaxy finish. It looks bad. Click a button. Now it's a rusty metal finish. Still bad. Click. Now it's neon slime. You can fail 100 times before lunch.
And you haven't wasted a single drop of real paint.
Not one. And this brings us back to that cool factor. If I'm a new designer and I'm funding this myself, I'm terrified of wasting money. So traditionally, I'm going to play it safe. Primary colors, simple gradients, things I know will work.
The fear of cost kills creativity.
Always. But if the cost of trying some crazy color scheme is zero, suddenly I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to see if hot pink actually works on a military robot.
Okay, so the digital apprentice helps us dream up the shape, and it helps us define the look. But then we hit the wall that every creative person hates. The math, the engineering.
Ugh, the boring problems, the stuff that makes a designer just pull their hair out.
I think collectors forget that a toy is, at its core, an engineering project. It has to stand up. It has to articulate.
Gravity is a harsh mistress. You design this super cool character with a huge head and tiny little feet. It looks great on paper. You print it out, and it just immediately faceplants.
Remember the joints? I've had figures where you just try to move the arm and it just snaps because the friction was too high or the plastic was too thin at a stress point.
And this is where we move from AI as artist to AI as engineer. The source material makes this really fascinating distinction between the math and the art.
And they bring in a huge example here, POP MART.
Oh, the absolute giants of the blind box world.
If you haven't walked into a mall recently, you might not know them, but POP MART is everywhere. Just rows and rows of these incredibly high-quality vinyl figures, Labubu, Molly, Skull Panda. They've turned this into a massive global industry.
And the source claims Pop Yarn is using AI in a way that goes way beyond just Will this toy stand up? They're using it for market intelligence.
This is the part that feels a little dystopian, but also kind of brilliant. They're basically calculating hype.
It's data analysis on steroids. They're not just guessing what collectors might want. They're scraping social media, tracking trends, analyzing color palettes that are popular in fashion or interior design.
So the AI is basically saying, hey, the data shows that people are really into sad clowns and pastel colors right now. You should make 50,000 sad clowns.
Versus, people are totally over pirates. Don't make any pirates.
It helps them nail down production numbers, which is huge for a business. But how does that help the artist? It sounds like it's just turning art into a spreadsheet.
That's the danger, right. But the source frames this as a division of labor. Think about it. If the AI is handling the center of gravity calculations, if the AI is checking the joint friction, if the AI is telling you pastel blue is trending, what does that leave for the human?
It leaves the story.
It leaves the emotion, it leaves the personality. The source argues that while POP MART's AI can predict a trend, it cannot invent the soul of a character.
This is the pivot point of the whole deep dive. We've talked about everything the Apprentice can do. Brainstorming, painting, math. Now we have to talk about what it can't do.
The human element.
And the source brings up a specific character to prove this point, Labubu.
Lubu is a perfect example. For anyone who isn't deep in the vinyl scene, Labubu is this little monster character from an artist named Kaising Lung. It's got these jagged teeth, big ears, and this very specific sly grin. It's mischievous.
It has sass. You look at it, you don't just see a shape, you see an attitude. It looks like it just played a prank on you.
Exactly. Now, an AI can analyze the market and say monsters are popular. It can say fur textures are trending. But could an AI invent that specific mischievous grin? Could it understand the irony of a cute monster that looks like it's about to cause trouble?
The source says no, and the reason they give is really profound. AI lacks memories.
It has a database, but it doesn't have a life.
Yeah.
Think about nostalgia. Nostalgia is a massive driver in toy collecting.
Oh, absolutely. When I pick up a figure that looks like a Ninja Turtle or Transformer from 1995, I'm not just appreciating the plastic, I'm smelling the cereal milk on a Saturday morning. I'm feeling the carpet in my parents' living room.
It's a visceral biological reaction. It's tied to your personal timeline. An AI doesn't smell the cereal milk. It can scan a database of 1990s aesthetics and say, here is a shape that correlates with that era. It can mimic a pattern, but it doesn't understand why that shape triggers that feeling in your gut.
It's the difference between knowing the definition of a joke and actually finding it funny.
Precisely. And street cred is the other big factor they mention. Toy culture is so deeply rooted in street culture, graffiti, hip-hop, skating.
Right. It's built on subversion,
Yeah.
on inside jokes. It's built on knowing what's cool before the mainstream knows it's cool.
An AI is, by definition, an outsider. It's looking in. It can suggest putting a hoodie on a figure because it sees hoodies are popular.
Yeah.
But it can't understand the cultural nuance of why you wear the hoodie that way or what logo is cool versus what logo is, corporate.
So if you try to design street cred with just AI, it ends up looking like, well, like a corporate ad trying to be cool. The whole how do you do fellow kids thing.
Exactly. It feels hollow. And collectors have a very, very sophisticated radar for hollow. They can smell inauthenticity a mile away.
So if you're a collector listening and you're worried that in 5 years your shelf is just going to be filled with soulless, algorithm-generated plastic blobs.
The source offers a pretty clear verdict here. Don't panic. The machine is the apprentice. The artist is the master.
It's a tool. It's a fancy paintbrush. It's a hyper-intelligent calculator. It's not the creator.
At the end of the day, a toy needs a soul. And that soul comes exclusively from the human creator's lived experience. The quirky decisions, the slight imperfections, the specific cultural references that come from having a childhood, from having your heart broken, from scraping your knee, that's what makes art.
I really like that distinction. It makes the technology feel less like some kind of invader and more like, I don't know, like an Iron Man suit for the artist.
That's a great way to put it. It amplifies the artist. It removes the drudgery, the boring math, the wasted paint, the blank page paralysis, so the artist can spend 100% of their energy on the soul.
Instead of spending 50% of their energy just trying to make the thing stand up.
Exactly. It raises the floor, but the ceiling is still determined by human creativity.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Maybe you're at your desk right now, doodling a character, thinking about making your first toy, or maybe you're just looking at your display case.
I think the takeaway is to be curious, not afraid. The old ways of manual craft, the sculpting, the hand painting, they're still loved, They aren't going anywhere. There will always be a market for the purely handmade. But these new tools, they're fascinating.
If you're a new designer, the advice here is don't shy away from the tech. Use the digital sketchbook to get those first 50 bad ideas out of the way. Use the virtual lab to try that crazy color scheme you were too scared to try in real life.
And if you're a collector, get ready. Because the toys coming out in the next few years might be more ambitious, more intricate, and more daring, because the designers had these tools to help them dream bigger.
It's an exciting time to be in the game. We've gone from the fear of the blank page to the freedom of the virtual lab, and finally landed on that vital distinction: the math of the AI versus the soul of the human.
And that relationship, master and apprentice, is likely how the best toys of the next decade are going to be made.
We're going to wrap up with a final thought from our source material. It's a question, really, and I think it's one you should carry with you the next time you pick up a figure and inspect all the little details.
The question is simply this: can AI help create a better toy? Not just a faster one to produce or a cheaper one to make, but a better toy.
And it forces you to define what better actually means. Is it cleaner lines? Or is it more feeling?
That's the challenge.
Something to mull over. As the source says, keep it real. And to all of you out there,
Happy toy collecting.